Matt Vannini joins me on the line now. He is a fourth-generation restaurateur and president of Restaurant Solutions, restaurantaccountingservices.com. Matt, thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Elise. I appreciate you having me.
So Governor Pritzker has threatened to shut down restaurants, and we're facing just incredibly surging coronavirus cases here in the state of Illinois, as they are in many, many other places around the world. And yet some Illinois restaurants and bars have decided to defy those orders and stay open. I know that you work with restaurants and you handle accounting for many restaurants. What are you seeing? It's really a tough thing, right? Restaurants are on the verge of just basically throwing up their hands and going, we can't go through this again. And yet they're really walking a tightrope. So let's start with your perspective. What are you hearing from your clients about what they're facing?
It's a wonderful question, and it's an unfortunate one to have to address. Looking nationally, you can definitely see a disparate attack on an approach on how to keep restaurants open. And in some of the more restrictive states, I saw something from the Pacific Northwest this morning where they literally they handcuffed an owner and brought him out. And I think that that's an extreme.
Wait a second. They handcuffed the owner of a restaurant?
There might have been some other stuff. There might have been some other stuff. We're researching it now, but they were saying because he was allowing patrons in there past 10 o'clock. And I think that there was more, whenever, and to not proliferate misinformation, I always think that you have to look one step deeper. And I think that this is a perfect segue to this industry that has just been riddled and I think we can't deny the COVID numbers. We just can't. We all have to do our part. We agree on that. I think where the operators, and rightly so, where the operators are throwing up their hands, it's getting to the point where there's almost vilification of the operators. Every operator that I know, including myself, is highly focused on making sure that we can provide jobs to the individuals who have worked for us for months, for years, for decades. And that has been the one commonality, is the heart-wrenching, you're on today, you're off tomorrow, you're on next week, you're off tomorrow. And I think where the frustration has really reached epic proportions has been in the lack of a cohesive strategy for most operators. And we're getting to the point now where when we're being told, when what we're being told defies common sense. I mean, I don't know about you, Elise, but I'm not going to sit outside on a patio in 2-degree weather just to enjoy a chicken fried steak.
Oh, I'm actually counting on the 70-plus degrees we're getting all week in November to just carry on straight through to March. Is that not going to happen?
I think we're all banking on it, but for those of you who,
right.
I think for those of us who aren't, I go back and what we need and what we advise our clients is, first and foremost, you're in the restaurant business. We're not in the employment business, we're in the restaurant business. And I know that this is a major shift for most of us because, as I just previously said, we're so dedicated to our staff and we're so dedicated to our guests. But we have to remember, without an organization, without an operation, without a restaurant or restaurant group, we have none of the following. We just don't. So when Danny Meyer, a couple months ago, when Danny Meyer got on, I think it was on CBS this morning on Sunday, he had said he was asked, why didn't you bring back some of the 2,800 employees that you had? And he said, look, I have to negotiate these restaurants. I have to negotiate getting them through this pandemic, or there won't be anything for people to come back to. And I would encourage my friends, my clients, and colleagues to look at their businesses. And the first thing is to determine what the minimum break even is for their business. This is something that most businesses, the last time we even thought about this was when we opened the restaurants. I've said it before. We didn't have a brand. We didn't have guest loyalty. So there was really an unknown moving forward. I want my friends to get back into that mindset. They have to get back into that mindset, that opening restaurant mindset, because otherwise being told to invest in heaters and invest in geodesic domes made out of PVC, I mean, it just becomes ridiculous at that point. So step one, look at what you can do to survive for the business. Step two, And we have seen this through data. When the restaurants first got shut down and restaurants moved to, we'll call it an all-digital presence, rather. They started doing DoorDash. They started doing the third-party deliveries. We saw about 10% of their sales immediately come in through these third-party delivery and curbside pickup. When the restaurants reopened, that number didn't get less.
Yeah.
That percentage of folks that were dining, they were still there. And now my strategy for my clients is to have an all digital presence that when you come to, when you get on a website, you feel like you're part of that restaurant.
Right.
You got it.
And you can actually order and have contact with it. Matt Vannini is a fourth generation restaurateur, president of Restaurant Solutions, Inc. And can we find you at restaurantaccountingservices.com?
You can. Thank you, Elise.
All right, Matt, thank you so much. It's incredibly helpful to get that perspective. Matt Vannini joins me on the line now. He is a fourth-generation restaurateur and president of Restaurant Solutions, restaurant.